Donald Trump was forced to make public his equity holdings, his stocks, and his bond holdings for Q1 of 2026, and it is raising major red flags. From January to March of 2026, ethics filings that Donald Trump was compelled to file under the law showed that Donald Trump reported between $220 million and $750 million in securities transactions during these few months, including major trades linked to top U.S. companies and index funds. And many of the CEOs of those companies accompanied Donald Trump on his trip to China. How many transactions did Donald Trump involve himself in Q1? Over 3,800 transactions, and they ranged in size from hundreds of thousands of dollars to transactions that were $5 million to $25 million in transactions, either purchases of sales in companies like Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft. Now, we have those financial disclosures right here. It's on a form called an OGE, Office of Government Ethics 278T. Donald Trump, under the law, was compelled to file 2 of these forms, but they are very long because of the amount of transactions Donald Trump has been involved in. I mean, it's like Donald Trump is a stock trader and a bond dealer. That's how many transactions they are. And so you can go down and you can look at all of these transactions. When it comes to the equities, the stocks, I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands of transactions, purchases and sales during Q1, not quite as many when it comes to bonds, but the timing of the purchases and the sales coincide with major world events. And right now, particularly as Donald Trump's leaving China, a lot of these CEOs are the companies that Donald Trump invested in and made huge amounts of money in. So let's go through some of these red flags. I mean, the most glaring is that Trump bought as much as $5 million or more in Nvidia, Oracle, Microsoft, Boeing, and Costco, according to these filings. Trump bought millions in stocks after the Iran war dip. He also had unusual large gains, as Unusual Whales said. You can see some of his top gains here, where he made millions and millions of dollars as Americans were panicking. So the market dipped, as you know, after the Iran war started. And as soon as it dipped, Donald Trump bought millions of stocks, including Apple, Nvidia, Dell, Adobe, and much more. He continued to say, the stock market's at all highs, buy, buy, buy. And then he often named the stocks that he wanted you to buy. For example, he would say, buy Dell. He would have the Dell family over. Donald Trump is a major investor in Dell. Look at this. Unusual Whales explains the timeline. Trump bought Dell. He bought multiple times since February 10th, up to more than $5 million. On May 8th, he says, go out and buy Dell, when he owned millions, potentially tens of millions of dollars in Dell stock at this point. So, for example, when he said on May 8th, go out and buy Dell, Dell stock jumped between 12% and 15% that day. What Donald Trump didn't mention is that he had already bought up to $5 million in Dell on February 10th. Then he bought more for millions of dollars on March 2nd. Then he bought more on March 11th. Then he bought again on March 23rd. And this disclosure is just being made public right now. And we were always wondering, okay, I wonder if anyone's involved in this insider information. I wonder if people know what's going to happen. Well, it appears, now I'm sharing with you my opinion as protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, that there's some real damn shady stuff going on. And this should piss you the hell off, that Donald Trump has used the White House to basically become a stock trader with all of the information that he has. This, as Donald Trump has tried to build exemptions, working with the MAGAs in the Senate and the House, that if there's any ban on stock trading, that the president is exempt so he can keep on doing this. I mean, he quite literally could be making off these numbers billions and billions and billions of dollars every day with his social media posts and with the statements that he's making. So as you know, Dell went up 12 to 15% right after Donald Trump said this. I'll show you. He said, "Go out and buy Dell. They're great," he says. And then the stock goes up. He didn't disclose that he holds the stock. Here, play this clip.
And I want to thank the Dell family. It's a great family. He is amazing. She is amazing. They've done such a job on that. They put up a lot of money too. Put up $6,250,000,000. That's somebody. And he started making computers on his bed in college and selling them because they were better than other computers. And I said, "How did you do that?" He said, "Well, I did it and I just never stopped. It just kept going." So go out and buy a Dell. They're great.
Now, I'll go through some other stocks that are on the various forums with you. But, you know, he buys these exchange traded funds, these ETFs. And so he's a big investor in Vanguard and some of these ETFs. And these funds, you know, buy across the S&P. Some of them buy across NASDAQ, for example. And so also another area where there's a lot of self-interest, in my opinion, is Intel, where the government's taken a major stake. And because Donald Trump has bought into these ETF funds, and my understanding of these ETFs, like Vanguard and others, they have Intel and they have others in their portfolio. Donald Trump is also directly benefiting personally from Intel. Also, some odd ones too, like if you look at the bonds that he was buying, very risky bonds. So Trump bought something called CoreWeave bonds, and then they basically got bailed out by NVIDIA, and NVIDIA's CEO was with Donald Trump in China. And also Trump purchased millions of dollars in NVIDIA and Boeing stock in Q1 per new filings. The CEOs of both companies were then invited to this Beijing summit, and the deals were related to Boeing and the deals were related to NVIDIA, the H200 chips, although we'll see if that was actually consummated or not. But apparently H200 chips were going to be offered to China. Whether China wanted to buy them or not is another story. They only need one in order to basically copy it and reverse engineer it. But, you know, these CoreWeave bonds that then got a bailout from NVIDIA. Here's Donald Trump bragging back in October of 2025 about how much the Intel stock was going up, which would likely be a component part of some of the ETF funds that Donald Trump has in his portfolio. Let's play this clip.
Well, you've also been monetizing the balance sheet, and you took a 10% stake in Intel, and you're taking a stake in Mountain Pass, MP. I mean,
you know that Intel, I think we're up $40 billion since I made the deal. We made a big deal. And I didn't do it for myself. I did it. They came in to see me and I said, "You know what? I think the United States should own 10% of your company." And they gave me 10%. And you know what? It's been good for them too. Their stock has gone up so much that they end up making a fortune. But we made $30 or $40 billion on that deal. The same thing with Mountain Pass. But in that case, it's because we want to get the rare earth refined.
And then throughout the war, Donald Trump would always talk about the stock market this, stock market that. And now we know what a prolific, probably not the right word, the amount of trading, the sheer volume of trading that he's done. Here, let's play this clip.
But let's talk about Iran first. Iran, I'm looking at your numbers now as I speak. I mean, the market's up. We're going to be at 50,000. That's where we were just a little while ago when it started. And when I hit 50,000 on the Dow and 7,000 on the S&P, I said, well, I hate to do this to everybody, but I'm going to have to journey down to a place called Iran and not make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon, because they will blow up the world. You want to see a bad stock market? Try blowing up the Middle East and then Europe, and then they come for us, right? And we're not going to let that happen. So I said to my people, they're all gathered, all these wonderful guys, Scott Bessent, the whole group, Howard, they're all doing a good job. I said, fellas, I got a little bad news for you. I'm going to put a little wrinkle in your numbers. Why, sir? We're going down to a place called Iran, and we're going to make sure that they never have a nuclear weapon, because they'll use it to blow up, because they're religious fanatics, and they will use that weapon to blow up the world, but they'll start with Israel in the Middle East, and we're not going to let that happen. And they said, wow, that's going to be bad. I said, yeah, it's going to hurt the market, and it's going to drive up the price of oil and whatever it is. But that's peanuts compared.
Okay, let's just take a look. I just want you to see for yourself, look at these transactions. NVIDIA, Apple, Oracle, Broadcom, Adobe, ServiceNow, Workday, Synopsys, Cadence Design, Microsoft, Amazon, Vanguard. Vanguard, it's an S&P ETF, exchange traded fund. iShares Russell 1000, an ETF, an exchange traded fund on this, and it's disclosed on this 278T form right here. Let's look at the form right here just so you can see for yourself. It shows over here, for example, in the Vanguard S&P ETF, he has between $1 and $5 million. Then you look at iShares Russell 1000, between 1 and 5 million shares. ServiceNow, NVIDIA, Adobe, Workday, Oracle, Microsoft, Broadcom, Synopsys, CDW Corp, Procter & Gamble, Cadence, Texas Instruments, Fidelity National, Eaton Corp, Motorola Solutions, State Street, Amazon. How much does he have of Amazon? Well, between 1 and 5 million in Amazon there. But that's just a purchase on a specific date. And by the way, this is, to be clear, when we're talking about up to $750 million, 3,800 transactions, we're just talking about one quarter. That's what he just did between January and March. These are all companies whose CEOs he hangs out with. Boeing, Dell, Apple. Well, what else we got? Accenture, more Vanguard, Alphabet, which is Google, Microchip, Paychex, DoorDash, Church & White, Garmin, Boston Scientific, Airbnb, VeriSign. I mean, have you ever seen... I took a video of it so you can see for yourself, because this goes down literally 3,800 entries. Qualcomm, more Walt Disney Company. I mean, I think it's unprecedented in scope, the sheer volume of these, like the sheer volume. Just look at the volume of these trades right here, and especially after, all of the statements that he's been making. Oh, one other thing I want to point out also, news from yesterday. Here's what we're learning. U.S. authorities are moving to resolve a fraud charge against Indian billionaire Gautam Adani, sources say, and end a criminal case that's hung over Asia's richest person for more than a year. The Trump Justice Department is now planning to drop criminal fraud charges against Indian billionaire and Asia's richest man, Gautam Adani, with an announcement possible as soon as this week, according to New York Times and Bloomberg. The reversal came after Adani hired a new legal team led by Donald Trump's personal lawyers, who met with DOJ prosecutors last month and presented roughly 100 slides arguing they lacked evidence and jurisdiction. One slide offered a sweetener. If charges were dropped, Adani would invest $10 billion in the U.S. economy and create 15,000 jobs, according to the Times. The SEC and Treasury Department are also moving to settle parallel civil cases with financial penalties. Adani was indicted in November 2024 over an alleged $265 million bribery scheme to secure solar energy contracts in India. Pay for play, quid pro quo. It's all related here. And now we have with these forms, with these 278T, these OGE Office of Government Ethics forms, I think they tell the full story. I mean, when you look at the bonds and NVIDIA bought them out and bailed them out, it's like, wow. Let me know what you think, everybody. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.